All right, so today we're going to take a look at how we can graph data that we've gathered in Excel. And graphing data that we've gathered in Excel is a really powerful and really important tool. So we'll take a look at a couple different ways that we can do that. So we have, if you recall, in our last lesson, we gathered some data. We went around the school and we found objects and we measured them. And we measured them using measuring tape or ruler or whatever, but we measured them in inches, and then we measured the same object in centimeters. And if you recall, this is roughly what we were left with when we looked at that. So a textbook was 12.5 inches long, which was about 31 centimeters. I measured myself at 70 centimeters, and that's about 70 inches, which is about 178 centimeters, and so on and so forth. I've got all of these objects here. And if you remember, we also used our cell phone, to put that same information into Excel, and we had no trouble there. So we were able to do that. So it doesn't matter what device, if you want to use a computer or if you want to use a phone, we're good either way. What we're going to do now is look at taking that data right there and putting it on a graph. And we're going to look at two ways. The first way is inside Excel. And that can be a little bit clunky, but it's a good skill because Excel can definitely make powerful graphs. So if we take a look here, if you want to make a graph inside Excel, the easiest thing to do is just to grab the data you want by clicking and highlighting. So in this case, I'm going to want to do a scatter plot, which hopefully you learned about in elementary school. But if not, we're going to learn about today, of the length of these objects in inches versus the length in centimeters. And then you can go up to Insert, and one of the options you'll see here is Charts and Recommended Charts, and there's all kinds of different charts you can make. You can make a pie chart, but that's not going to make any sense. We're definitely not making something where a pie chart makes sense. You could put a bar graph, but again, that doesn't really make sense for what we're doing here. What we want here is called a scatter plot. And in Excel, it's actually down a little bit lower. And then for scatter plot, you see they've got all kinds of fancy ones. We want just the simple dot scatter plot, just that one right there. And when we do, you can see it takes all of our data and it puts it like that. Now, the one thing I don't like is it doesn't give us very nice titles. So if you look, you can go, well, down here, those numbers only go up to 80, so we know down here must be inches because our highest number there is 70. So we can go axis titles, the horizontal axis, we can say title below axis, and then we can say object length in inches, and I can click OK. And we can see there's that now. And the axis titles, the vertical axis, I could say, okay, here I want object length in centimeters. And now it gives me those. And I don't really like this little legend down here, so I could say legend, turn off. And there we go, I've got a nice little graph. And I don't really like this title. So chart title, we could say edit the title and maybe say the length of objects in centimeters versus the length in inches. Not the world's most exciting title, but there we go. We've made a graph. And there's all kinds of ways you could play with it. I could make it bigger, smaller, or resize it, but that's making a graph right in Excel. And if you get a bit of practice with that, it really is as easy as highlighting the data you want, saying Insert, and inserting a chart. But a graphing tool that we're going to use a lot, is Desmos, because Desmos makes the most beautiful graphs. You may not know it yet, but Desmos is the greatest invention that was ever made for students, certainly for math students. It's going to make your life so much easier. So, if you haven't 100 times already, you can go to desmos.com, and it loads here, and you can see it's just a graph. I'm going to adjust this. There's a mode that's a little better for project. Actually, I didn't like that better at all. But there we are. And what we can do is we can take this data and copy it. And if you don't know how to copy, Control C. So you hold the Control button, and then you press the C button. You really can't see that well at all, but hold Control and press C, and that will copy. And then we can just paste it right into Desmos. And to paste, you hold Control and press V. Hopefully you've been taught that. And if you look, Desmos automatically puts our points in here, and it zooms out. And we can see them, and in Desmos, with any of these, we can click it and see what point that was.